Hey, Grok, give me a 15-minute motivational speech about success, hard work, entrepreneurship, and the motivation to keep going.
All right, let's dive into a story that's not just a speech, but a journey. A vivid, fiery tale of grit, dreams, and the relentless pursuit of success. Picture this: a sprawling desert landscape, the sun blazing like a forge, painting the horizon in hues of molten gold. In the heart of this unforgiving terrain stands a lone figure, a young entrepreneur named Cale, barely 22, with nothing but a tattered notebook, a half-empty water bottle, and a dream so big it could eclipse the sun itself. This is a story of success, hard work, and the unbreakable will to keep going, no matter how brutal the odds. Cale wasn't born with a silver spoon. He grew up in a small, dusty town where ambition was as scarce as rain. His parents worked double shifts at a diner, their hands calloused, their dreams long buried under bills and exhaustion. But Cale, he was different. As a kid, he'd sit on the cracked steps of their porch, sketching ideas in that notebook, blueprints for apps, designs for eco-friendly tech, plans for businesses that could change the world. Everyone told him, dream smaller, kid. Life's not a movie. But Cale's heart beat to a rhythm they couldn't hear.
Keep going with the story of motivation, entrepreneurship, success, hard work, and dedication.
All right, let's dive back into the story. Since you've asked for a tale of motivation, entrepreneurship, success, hard work, and dedication, I'll weave a vibrant, detailed narrative that pulls you in and keeps you hooked. Here we go. The sun barely peeked over the horizon, casting a faint golden glow across the sprawling desert city where Amara stood on the balcony of her tiny apartment. Her calloused hands gripped a chipped coffee mug, steam curling upward like the dream she'd been chasing for years. At 27, Amara had no safety net, no trust fund, no family business to inherit, just a burning desire to build something that mattered. Below her, the streets buzzed faintly, delivery trucks rumbling and early risers jogging along cracked sidewalks. She closed her eyes, inhaling the sharp scent of coffee mixed with the dry, dusty air, and reminded herself why she'd left her stable but soul-crushing office job 2 years ago. Amara's dream was bold, a sustainable fashion brand that didn't just look good, but did good, using eco-friendly materials and empowering local artisans. She'd grown up watching her grandmother, a master seamstress, weave stories into every stitch of fabric, her hands moving like they were dancing with a thread. Those memories fueled Amara, but turning that vision into reality was like climbing a mountain with no map. Her first year as an entrepreneur had been a gauntlet of sleepless nights, rejected loan applications, and suppliers who laughed at her small batch orders. Yet, every setback only steeled her resolve. She stepped back inside her apartment, where a makeshift workbench sat, crammed between a sagging couch and a stack of fabric swatches. Her laptop, its screen cracked from a clumsy drop during the brainstorming session, glowed with an open spreadsheet tracking her latest pitch to investors. Today was big, her first real shot at funding. A local incubator program for sustainable startups had invited her to present her brand, Thread and Soul, to a panel of investors at a swanky downtown venue. Amara's heart raced as she slipped into her one good blazer, a thrift store find she tailored herself, its deep emerald hue making her brown eyes spark with determination. The venue was a sleek glass building that seemed to hum with ambition. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and expensive cologne, and Amara felt like an imposter among the tailored suits and glossy portfolios. Her presentation was in an hour, so she paced the lobby, rehearsing her pitch under her breath. Thread and Soul isn't just clothing, she whispered, clutching her sample designs. A vibrant sundress dyed with natural indigo, a linen jacket with hand-stitched patterns inspired by her grandmother's tales. It's a movement, ethical fashion that lifts communities and protects the planet. A barista at the lobby cafe, a young guy with a crooked smile, noticed her nervous energy and slid a free coffee her way. "You look like you're about to change the world," he said with a wink. Amara laughed, grateful for the kindness, and took a sip, letting the warmth steady her trembling hands. She didn't know it yet, but that barista, Javier, would become one of her fiercest allies. The presentation room was intimidating. 10 investors seated at a long table, their faces a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Amara's voice wavered at first, but as she spoke about her grandmother's legacy and the artisans she'd partnered with, Single mothers, immigrants, and recovering addicts given a second chance. Her passion took over. She held up her samples, explaining how each piece used organic cotton or recycled fibers, dyed with plant-based extracts to minimize environmental harm. The numbers were solid. She'd already secured pre-orders from a local boutique and built a small but...
Keep going.
loyal online following through her scrappy social media campaigns. Her voice grew steadier, her eyes locking with the investors as she painted a vision of scaling Thread and Soul into a brand that could redefine fashion, sustainable, inclusive, and deeply human. But the questions came fast and sharp. A silver-haired investor with a clipped accent leaned forward. Your margins are thin. How do you compete with fast fashion giants pumping out clothes at half the cost? Another chimed in. Eco-friendly sounds noble, but will consumers pay a premium for it? Amara's pulse quickened, but she'd prepared for this. She spoke of her market research, surveys showing Gen Z and millennials prioritizing sustainability, willing to invest in brands with a purpose. She highlighted her lean operations, cutting costs by working directly with artisans and bypassing middlemen. Her answers weren't perfect, but they were honest, grounded in the sleepless nights she'd spent crunching numbers and refining her strategy. When she finished, the room was quiet for a moment. Then a woman at the end of the table, with sharp cheekbones and a notepad full of scribbles, nodded. I like your grit, Amara. You're not just selling clothes, you're selling a story. That's powerful. The others murmured agreement, and Amara's chest tightened with hope. They'd deliberate and get back to her in a week, but for the first time, she felt seen. Back in the lobby, Javier, the barista, caught her eye and gave a thumbs up. Nailed it, didn't you? He teased. Amara grinned, her nerves finally easing. Maybe. We'll see. That night, she celebrated with a cheap taco from a food truck, savoring the tangy salsa under the neon glow of the city. But the grind didn't stop. While waiting for the investor's decision, Amara threw herself into her work, stitching prototypes, emailing suppliers, and filming Instagram videos showcasing her artisan stories. One video of a woman named Rosa weaving a scarf while sharing how Thread and Soul helped her leave an abusive relationship went viral, racking up thousands of shares. The call came 7 days later. Amara was elbow deep in fabric scraps when her phone buzzed. The incubator offered her $50,000 in seed funding and a spot in their mentorship program. She screamed, startling her neighbor's cat, who hissed from the windowsill. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to lease a small workshop, hire 2 part-time artisans, and launch her first official collection. The next 6 months were a blur of hustle. Amara barely slept, fueled by coffee and the thrill of progress. She rented a dusty loft on the edge of town, its exposed brick walls soon draped with colorful fabric rolls and mood boards pinned with sketches. Javier, who'd become a friend, stopped by often, bringing coffee and brainstorming marketing ideas. He had a knack for social media, and his quirky posts, featuring Amara's designs in vibrant city settings, doubled her followers. Rosa, now her lead artisan, brought a quiet strength to the team, her nimble fingers turning sketches into reality. The launch of Thread and Soul's first collection was set for a pop-up market at a bustling outdoor festival. Amara's nerves were electric as she set up her booth, the air thick with the scent of street food and live music pulsing in the background. Her rack of clothes, flowing dresses, tailored jackets, and scarves with intricate patterns drew curious glances. By midday, a crowd gathered, drawn by the story cards attached to each piece, detailing the artisan who made it and the sustainable materials used. A teenager bought a scarf, saying it reminded her of her mom's garden. A couple purchased matching linen shirts, charmed by the brand's mission. By the end of the day, Amara had sold out, her cash box stuffed, and her heart fuller. Success didn't come easy after that. There were late deliveries, a website crashed during a sale, and a harsh review from a blogger who didn't get her minimalist aesthetic. But Amara's dedication held firm. She learned to negotiate with suppliers, streamlined her production, and leaned on her growing community, Javier, Rosa, and now a small team of artisans and volunteers who believed in her vision. Within a year, Thread and Soul was stocked in 3 local boutiques, and a national retailer was eyeing a partnership. One evening, as Amara locked up the workshop, she paused to look at a framed photo on the wall. Her grandmother, mid-laugh, threading a needle. Tears pricked her eyes. She'd built something real, something that honored the past while shaping a better future. The city lights glittered outside, a reminder of the world waiting for her to keep pushing, keep creating. Amara smiled, slung her bag over her shoulder, and stepped into the night, ready for the next challenge. And the story doesn't end here. She was just getting started.
Let's go ahead and finish up the story here.
All right, let's bring Amara's story to a vibrant close, wrapping up her journey of motivation, entrepreneurship, success, hard work, and dedication with the same vivid energy that's carried her this far. Here we go, diving right back in. Amara's workshop had transformed from a dusty loft into a bustling hub of creativity. Its brick walls, now lined with shelves of neatly rolled fabrics in earthy hues, ochre, sage, indigo, and a hum of sewing machines filling the air like a heartbeat. 2 years had passed since that nerve-wracking pitch to the investors, and Thread and Soul was no longer just a dream scratched out on late-night notepads. It was a name whispered in fashion blogs, featured in local magazines, and worn by a growing tribe of customers who didn't just want clothes, they wanted meaning. But for Amara, success wasn't measured by sales alone. It was in the lives she touched, the community she built, and the quiet pride in knowing she'd stayed true to her vision. The national retailer she'd been eyeing, a boutique chain championing ethical brands, had signed on 6 months ago, stocking Thread and Soul in 10 of their stores. The deal had nearly fallen through when their buyer balked to her pricing, but Amara held firm, explaining how every dollar supported fair wages for her artisans and sustainable practices. Cheap fashion comes at a core.
Keep going and finish it.
Cost, she told them, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Ours doesn't exploit people or the planet. The buyer, a woman with a penchant for bold earrings and a sharp mind, respected the conviction and signed the contract. That deal pushed Thread and Soul into new markets.